Happening plebs, feel free to alt-tab or go on Facebook or whatever it is that you do at the computer. There's not any visuals or anything here. I'll just be talking for a little bit. So this video is just what I've learned about Yu-Gi-Oh! And Yugitubing in my time playing it, really. So this video is just not really kind of structured too strictly or anything or stringently. I've just kind of like came up with like lots and different observations and stuff that I've kind of like seen in the game over the years. So I've decided to split this up into like, you know, what I've learned about like just kind of like life in general, but also what I've learned about Yu-Gi-Oh! From two different perspectives. So beginning first of all, what I've learned about Yu-Gi-Oh! As a Yu-Gi-Oh! Player, and then what I've learned about like Yu-Gi-Oh! As like a Yugituber. So those are very different things. You'd be surprised, like those are very different things. Sorry, I just really needed a sip of water there. Anyway, they're like, I think they're different because the relationship that you have with so you know, you have like, if you're a Yugituber, you have like a social demographic, and within that social demographic there are figureheads and there are you know, leaders, authoritative figures. Like it or not, they're, you know, like Yugitubers for the most part, bigger ones anyway, tend to be like not so much important, but are fairly influential within that sphere, right? That's just very, like, that's just natural, because bigger YouTubers obviously have a bigger platform and therefore reach a bigger amount of people and therefore collect a greater number of followings than if you were just a normal Yu-Gi-Oh! Player. As a normal Yu-Gi-Oh! Player, you don't actively go out of your way to try amass yourself a following or anything. You're just there to like play the game. As a YouTuber, obviously you're trying to grind out and create a following and create an audience, which obviously are two very different things. Because in one aspect, as a Yu-Gi-Oh! Player, you're playing Yu-Gi-Oh! For the sake of Yu-Gi-Oh! Whereas, you know, as a YouTuber, you have a certain end goal compared to being a Yu-Gi-Oh! Player. A Yu-Gi-Oh! Player is just to sort of play and do well. A YouTuber is to play and do well, not at Yu-Gi-Oh! It's a different thing altogether. It's to do well at being a YouTuber, which are, you know, sometimes they cross paths, sometimes you can do both, but for the most part, like conceptually, they are very different things. So it's basically why I've decided to like look at them from two different angles. So yeah, kind of just beginning first of all with what I've learned about like trying to be a Yu-Gi-Oh! Player. For the most part, I think overall it's been a very positive engagement and very positive experience in the community for me. It's something that I feel like has always, or has never really been anything bad. It's always just been something I've liked doing for the past few years, and it's something I always look forward to week in and week out. Not so much buying new cards and spending money on it, but it is quite a pricey hobby. So that's pretty much the only negative thing I'd have to say about the game itself. Well, actually I have way more negative things to say about the game itself, but that's not what this is about. Overall, people have been very helpful. People have been very good. Really nice. I don't think I've ever like had any proper problems or issues with someone in terms of like as a player compared to like, you know, as a YouTuber. Obviously I have had some tiffs and stuff, but I'll get into that later. As a Yu-Gi-Oh! Player, I don't think I've really had any problems with people pertaining to Yu-Gi-Oh! Specifically. Like anyone I have had a problem with has always been because of them as a person, not really so much because of Yu-Gi-Oh! Like, you know, like, oh, you cheated against me, I hate you, or something like that. Nothing to that extent. The worst thing that's ever happened to me really is I had my extra deck stolen playing Infernity in 2014, and as you can imagine, Infernity in 2014 wasn't a cheap deck. Triple Laval Chain, double Exciton, Honor Arc, etc, etc. Those weren't cheap cards, so that's really the worst thing that's happened to me. So still never found out conclusively who that was or who did that, or whether they returned it, or well, obviously they didn't return it, but whether they managed to sell it on, etc, etc. So yeah, I guess we'll never know the end of that one. But yeah, that's pretty much the worst thing that's happened to me. I don't think other than that there's not been anything particularly negative. For the most part, it has been a fairly good experience. So there has even been better players. You know, like when I was just your average run-of-the-mill Spurglord playing Blackwing and stuff like that, I remember messaging Jeff Jones and he actually like replied to me. And it just goes to show, like, you know, for the most part, this community is really awesome. I think most people are willing to listen to you and help you out and stuff like that. Even if it's just a random idiot online, like they will probably reply to you, even if you are like just the random Spurglord. So it was quite interesting. I found like he replied the whole total number of 3 times to me, and that was before anyone knew me or did anything. And he was yeah, I think it's goes to show, like, for the most part, when if you go up to any Yu-Gi-Oh player and ask them for help, or, you know, tell them not really tell them, but like ask them to like tell you what they think about something, or you know, how you can improve your deck, or any tips and stuff like that, people are generally more than willing to help out. So, you know, I did like a little experiment fairly recently, and a lot of people were saying like, well, you know, you're a YouTuber, obviously people are going to help you because, you know, they want to like be noticed, etc, etc. You know how it is. I didn't think that was ever the case, because like I said, you know, from the very beginning when I first started playing, like, you know, without a YouTube channel or anything, I've had people be very generous and nice to me from the onset. So it's not something that I thought was very crazy or unique. If you want help, then help is there. Help is readily available. There's plenty of resources online that you can look for. You know, just the problem is like a lot of Yu-Gi players just want to be spoon-fed. That's kind of the problem. Like, people just want answers. Like, just, you know, just gimme. Like, there is no give and take. There's no sort of patience. There's no just effort involved. Like, if you want to, like, all it takes is like a couple minutes to go on Google and find a random forum or Reddit, or like Reddit post, or post on Facebook or group on Facebook about the thing that you're asking, and just do your research and stuff like that. So it's there if you want help. But, you know, if you expect to just walk into a room and say like, give me a deck that will win this tournament, that's just not gonna happen. You know, unless you have like your tits popping out your turtleneck or something, like, I don't know. It's realistically, like, that just doesn't happen. So one thing I've noticed as well is Yu-Gi-Oh players, because of that reason, for better or for worse, and again, these aren't like positive or negative things. A lot of what I say here is just observations. It is what it is, you know. So there's good and bad things about a lot of these things. So yeah, one negative thing about obviously asking people for their opinions on things is, well, people can be wrong, right? People can be just give you false information, either ignorantly or purposefully, which is very rare. But you know, impurposefully, they can just tell you things that are bullshit, etc, etc. So just test this out yourself. Try it out. Go to like locals and just ask anyone, and ask like literally any. It doesn't matter if they come first place every week or if they come second last place every week for the like last 3 years. Just try it, right? Just see for yourself and ask them about a card. Say like, what do you think about this card? Do you think this card is good? Or do you think this deck is good? Or what do you think the best deck is? Or what do you think about this format? Everyone will give you an answer. And you're probably wondering like, what's wrong with that? Isn't it good that people are willing to help? The thing is like, you know, just my personal observation. Again, maybe it's not bad, maybe it's not good. People won't ever tell you, I don't know. Yu-Gi-Oh players especially. People, obviously, humans in general, love to know that their thoughts and opinions are appreciated and accepted, and, you know, at least entertained to some degree and some extent. But yeah, Yu-Gi-Oh players love talking about themselves, and they will never say I don't know. You know, you ask, I don't know, you ask me on my opinion on what the, I don't know, Kashmir self-determination rights in like Western Pakistan is. What do I think about that? I will tell you, you know, I don't know anything about that, sorry. But, and, you know, when it comes to Yu-Gi-Oh and like nerd cultures in general, you ask someone, you know, what do you think about X, Y, Z? They will almost always be willing to just tell you something like, whether it's wrong or right, like, you know, do you think Dark Lords are good? And they'll be like, yes, 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 I love Dark Lords, they're really great. And they'll tell you this long tangent, irrelevant story about how they top decked Grapha with gate up, or I don't know, something like that, right? People just, you know, love to just talk, either incorrectly, or ignorantly, or with wisdom. People obviously just want to hear themselves talk. So, you know, I guess that's it's a kind of a good thing, because it lets you get a good gauge of public opinion. You know, if you ask someone, do you think MST is good, this format, that could potentially help you form and shape your deck for the next coming event, because then you get a good gauge of like various public opinions on, you know, will there be a lot of back row destruction at this event? Therefore, I will play more back row heavy deck, etc., etc. So you know what I mean? Like, there is obviously positives to that. A very condescending, underhanded positive and compliment, I guess, but you know, obviously that is bad, because you can get a lot of just wrong information. You know, you can ask someone, what do you know, are Black Wings good? And they tell you yes. Well, that could give you a false, you know, a very bad sort of perspective if you're very new, or you're very easily influenced, or you just don't know much about the game currently, or format, etc., etc. You know, that's obviously a bad thing, because then you're just being told essential dog shit, right? And that kind of ties into YouTubing as well. For example, like some of the things that YouTubers have said is just like, I mean, wow, some of the literal gargling garbage dog shit that has come out of the mouth of some YouTubers, like regarding the meta or some various opinions on different cards, is just wow. Like, so, you know, there's obviously good and bad aspects for that. There's good and bad things, you know, with everything. And, you know, when it comes to public opinion, or sweeping statements and opinions issued on the internet, well, yeah, that's something I've noticed in Yu-Gi-Oh! Is there tends to be always an answer. Whether that answer is right or wrong, generally people will give you an answer. And I feel like for the most part, I personally think that's good, because, you know, like I said, you're able to get multiple perspectives and angles. Even if those angles and perspectives are wrong, there are still perspectives and angles. You know what I mean? So, yeah, that's one thing. Moving on, I guess the final thing, really, just to round up, I guess, with a negative. There's a specific group of people in this game, and they tend to be the quote-unquote pro players. Within that group of the quote-unquote pro players, and they are a minority, you know, most good players and most like name players are really awesome people, like genuinely just really great to talk to and hang out with. Like, personally, I've met and talked to like some of the big name players in this game, and just really awesome people, you know, really, really great dudes. And but, you know, there's always going to be bad within that group as well, right? And one of the things that grinds my gears, and it's something I've noticed a lot in Yu-Gi-Oh! Specifically, is people will often use the condescending term relevant or fan, something to that effect, when talking about, you know, other players. You know, like, you could have an argument with someone online completely, like, nothing to do with, like, the meta, or just, it could just be anything. Like, it could be argued about, like, apples or some crap like that, and they will just tell you, like, well, you know, your opinion is relevant. Who are you? Like, you've achieved nothing. And it's just hilarious, because it's like, you know, in the grand scheme of things, you've fucking topped a couple events for a children's card game designed for 6 years and over. Like, that's your greatest achievement in life, and that you're gonna like discredit another person's existence because you fucking play a card game like relatively competently. It's just mind-boggling, like how much things can get to people's heads. Like, really, it's like, again, it's a very small portion, but yeah, like, this game gets to some fucking people's heads, like, really gets to some people's heads. Like, my god, like, calm down, mate, calm down. You've topped a fucking YCS and won a PlayStation, right? Chill the fuck out. You're just as much of a nobody as I am. It's yeah, it's really crazy stuff, just how people like let this get to them. Like, congratulations, you have fucking won a pink box like at a 300-man region or something, or like a fucking 20-man region or some shit. Like, chill the fuck out. Like, Yeah, so just overall, like, measuring people's worth based off of like competence at the game is just number one of the cringiest things ever to like watch like that unfold, and it's, you know, number two, just one of like just the most irrelevant things ever, because in the end, like, you can call someone irrelevant because they haven't done as much as you or topped as much as you, and it's like, well, in the grand scheme of things, what are you gonna leave in the world? Like, are you gonna roll over on your deathbed and hold your wife's hand, and if you can even fucking get yourself a wife in the first place, and say to yourself, you know, I lived a good life, I topped a nationals during Dragon Ruler format, and she's gonna look at you like, what the fuck's a Dragon Ruler? Like, do you know what I mean? Like, it's so irrelevant in the long term. It's yeah, and it just really gets to some people's heads, and it's I really hate those people, and I always will hate those fucking Sparglords, whoever they are. So yeah, that pretty much does it for like the Yu-Gi-Oh player part. I know this is fairly long, right? We're only halfway through. Yeah, so as a YouTuber, I've noticed, well, my experience on YouTube has been overall positive. Helped me, like, you know, get out of my shell, and I'm extremely reclusive, and just like, you know, like if I'm not working, like if I'm on holiday or something like that, like I will literally just like not leave the house for like a month, like solid, like not walk out of the front door. Just like, other than like obviously necessities like getting food or something, like it's like chronicle isolation. I just love it. Like even like my wife is like a super introvert and stuff like that, and even she like is like confused at just how much I just love being alone. Just, I don't know, but yeah, YouTube has like really helped like alleviate that to an extent, because it does make you obviously a bit more open to like people and things and stuff, you know, but sometimes it does like kind of damage that, because it's like, well, you know, I'd rather just stay home and like work on videos and not like see my friends, you know, so it's stuff like that. Like, so that it has its positive and negatives, but yeah, for the most part, like I'm you know, that's not a bad thing either. It's just like, you know, it's apples and bananas, right? It's like, not like one isn't better than the other. Like, some people like to be alone more than others, and some people like to, like, you know, hang out and go out and do things, and you know, one isn't better than the other. It's just sort of, you know, it is what it is. So yeah, like YouTube isn't really like impacted that negatively, really. I guess for the most part, like, you know, if I'm really grinding on videos, I might not like see people for, or even interact with other people for like a little bit longer than what is like socially acceptable, but yeah, it's never something that's bothered me. So yeah, I think it's only given, like, as a personality trait, it's only like helped improve upon things, like, for myself, if you know what I mean. So yeah, next point is just shitty people online. So obviously, you know, you had like the shitty people in person. Well, not really in person, because most of them I experienced online. You know, as Yu-Gi-Oh players, like, oh, look at me, I'm so good, I topped an event. You know, in terms of YouTube, there's a lot of shitty people on the internet, like a disproportionate amount of shitty people on the internet. So, like, you know, these are like genuine responses and like things that people have said to me, right? So if I'm at locals and I say, like, I don't think Cyber Darks are a good deck, someone from across the room who really likes Cyber Darks, like obsessively likes the deck, might maybe just look over at you and like kind of just go, you know, that's like the worst repercussion you get in real life, right? No one's gonna like go crazy over it. But on the internet, people are different. People really come out of their anonymous shell, because in the end, you know, you have that guise of anonymity that you feel like there's no repercussion. So you know, you're free to say whatever you want, essentially. And if I say on the internet, you know, I don't think Cyber Dark's a very good deck, you know, fuck you, you're so shit, I hate you, this is the worst channel, unsubscribe, fuck you, stupid idiot, terrorist, sand nigger, cunt, Jew, kike, prick. Like, that's the stuff people say to me, you know, just because they don't agree with an opinion, right? And it's legitimately things that have been thrown, like, some things even said about like my family and stuff, like things that are beyond like, you know, what is even just like beyond what is even acceptable on the internet, you know, because on the internet we have a bigger threshold for what's okay to say to people, like generally like, you know, being racist to people and stuff like that on the internet, for some reason that's just acceptable. People don't really bat an eye at that. It's just like, it's whatever. You know, but to go beyond that and like, you know, personally attack people's families and shit like that, you know, even by the internet standards, that's a little bit, you know, over the top. And it's just some of the examples of things that I've had of people, you know, on the internet who don't like that I said a thing about their card or deck, right? And it's just really, you know, it just doesn't warrant the reaction. There's, you know, and other examples, of course, like that's obviously the most extreme example, but generally, you know, you might have some other things. So for example, just like mean comments in general from specific people. And it's funny because, you know, like as I've said before, these things never really get to me, because even the really mean, like horrible racist like stuff that people say, like that's never really got to me. It's just whatever. I just find it funny most of the time, because it's like people like have a hard time like guessing my ethnicity, never mind like trying to use the right insult, you know what I mean? So it's like oh yeah, cool, you're using a generic Asian pejorative rather, so yeah, that's cool. Try again, maybe you'll get it on the next insult. Oh, that's the black insult. Oh, cool. Yeah, unfortunately I'm not black. Try again, etc, etc. So, you know, it's just funny for the most part, and it's never really got to me. And so yeah, as I was saying, like, and it's always from specific people. Like it's the same people. Like it's the same account. Like I know who they are by heart, because like I could like write out their username, because I know who they are, like because they're on every single video, every single last video, on my channel, on other people's channels that happen to include me, like for example Simo's YouTuber Grand Championship, or like some random discussion that John's done on his channel with me. They'll post there and they'll say like, this guy is a stupid fucking cunt, I hate this prick, blah blah blah, worst YouTuber. And it's like, so you stay subscribed to my channel, you're almost always one of the first people to comment on a new upload, and you don't think to yourself, just unsubscribe and move on. Like, that's the thing with the internet. Like, no one thinks to themselves like, oh, I don't like this person, I'll just like ignore them or block them and move on with my life. That doesn't happen on the internet. On the internet, you need to like, you know, just take on a whole different persona. You become an animal on the internet. Like that's literally what happens. Like you become a whole different entity. Logic and reason just go out the window. In the end, it's you take emotion and you just reinforce that by like 10 different amplified fucking drugs or some shit, and you just go berserk on the internet. You just say the most rancid, deplorable, despicable, disgusting things that can come to your mind, and you just type it out and you post it on a comment section. That's what happens on the internet. And you know, I've always, you know, said to myself like, it's the internet, like what is the point in getting upset over it and stuff? And it's never got to me. I just think it's just really interesting, because it's the same people who comment all the time and they don't realize they're shadow banned. Like no one else can see their comments. Like that's the funny thing. Like they're posting the same regurgitated hateful things, but they don't realize like no one else can see it except them and me. So like who's like that, and it's just sad. Like it's just, you know, like you'd think people would move on. And it's a good thing, because it shows me that out of the thousands of people who've interacted with my channel, like 17 point something subs I'm at right now, and I get thousands of views on each video, and I've had millions of views overall. So out of those millions of views, I found literally 2 people who vehemently despise me. You know, and that's life. Like you're not going to make everyone happy. For some reason, not saying you like certain cards obviously warrants death threats to your wife, you know, for some reason, and you know, various racist, you know, insults hurled at you. But you know, if sure, like that's fine. Like okay, you know, if you do that, right? It's just you just think to yourself, oh okay, all right, that happened. Sure. So anyway, moving on. And then you just do the next video, and it's like, all right, whatever. I hope you I hope that was I hope you got that off your chest, buddy. And yeah, you know, it's just this. You just feel like, you know, you can't really say anything back, because all that does is instigate a reaction. All that does is make them know that it's working, and it never is. It just never is. Like, you know, just keep doing you. So yeah, that, like I said, there's thousands of and millions of views on my channel, and I've managed to find a grand total of 2 who really take the cake when it comes to extremities in terms of, you know, being horrible on the internet. And it's fine, because it's like, hey, I'm glad that you feel that way, and I'm also glad that it's only you and one other person who feel the need to constantly come on my channel and say horrible things. Because the vast majority, the overwhelming 99.99% of the viewership is either just or it's cool, like really positive. And you know, and it's really heartwarming to see how many positive comments I get day in and day out, and personal messages on my Facebook and personal Facebook, and yeah, people are just really awesome for the vast majority of the time. But obviously, as humans, we only choose to remember the negatives, and we only choose to focus on the negatives. But obviously, you know, I try not do that. So my final point as well, my second last point. So if you're still watching, well, if you're still listening, God help you. I don't know why, but yeah. So my interaction with other YouTubers have been vast majority overwhelmingly positive. I've had a couple of tiffs here and there, literally here and there. I think probably 2 major interactions that have been negative, but for the most part, yeah, most YouTubers are generally just nice people, and I think that's probably because of the fact that being a YouTuber doesn't put you in such a position where you can be, you know, like, what's the word, like, just extremely out there. Like some, like, you know, you hear about some celebrities and stuff who are literally just, they're far gone in their own little insanity and their bubble from how much the fame has got to their heads. Whereas YouTubers generally just have normal jobs and stuff. They're just normal people, and it's just something they kind of do on the side. And very few of us actually make a living off of it. And even the ones who do make a living off of it, it's like, well, it's not that much of a big deal, right? Because it's mostly just a side project for the most of us, and the ones who do it full time just kind of are normal people. So, you know, that's cool and all. Obviously, the fame does get to a lot of people's heads. I say a lot of people, just some people's heads. It's definitely gotten to them. There's been examples that in stories that I obviously I'm not going to go into because I'd have to drop names, but yeah, you can definitely tell like who's taking this way too seriously than more seriously than others. So I found it quite surprising that for the most part, the YouTube people have been fairly diverse. I kind of always like sort of had the impression, at least before I became a YouTuber, that they were either all just like of a certain type or personality. Obviously, you know, to be quote unquote famous, you probably have to be somewhat a bit of a narcissist and have a bit of a superiority complex and maybe a bit of a sociopath. But generally, for the most part, most YouTubers are really nice people. I think some YouTubers I've met, like, obviously do like get it to their head, and genuinely, I mean this wholeheartedly. One of the single most arrogant and full of themselves person I have ever so much as met in my time. Two of them happen to be YouTubers. Two of the single-handed most arrogant people I've met in my life are YouTubers. Well, were YouTuber. Like, one of them is like sort of one of them's irrelevant, one of them doesn't YouTube anymore, I think. I'm not sure. So yeah, it's you know, and that's 2 out of like the 50 or something that I've met in total, like over the course of the years. Some have come and gone, etc, etc. It's been an overall good experience. So, and it's crazy just how different some are, because, you know, like, you have like, for example, you know, have someone like just like John from House of Champions. He's like extremely out there and boisterous and energetic, and you know, and then you have the complete opposite of that, of like someone like Drew, who's just very mellow and very sort of calculated, you know. So there is very different people in this community, you know. Some are obviously just miles apart from each other, but I found that very surprising because, like I said, I expected most of them to be very similar. I think like there's perhaps common trends among YouTubers in terms of personality traits, but it's for the most part never really been it didn't really become, or it isn't what I expected it, essentially. So for the most, like I said, basically for the most part, we're all pretty cool guys, basically is what I'm saying. Anyway, so yeah, that's essentially it, really. I was gonna mention a little bit about the longevity. I mean, 10 years ago, if you asked someone making a video on YouTube, like, do you think you'll do this forever, or, you know, do you think you'll do this long term as a job, a lot of people would probably think, ha, come on, that's crazy. Making videos on the internet, no way, that's never going to be like a job or thing. And yeah, here we are. YouTube and even Yugitubing can be genuine professions, and it's working for a lot of people currently. Me personally, I don't think I would really want to be involved with it. I would rather have a career in something that I find meaningful. I mean, maybe if I was going to do a career in something shit and terrible, like in an office or something, working for some asshole company, I wouldn't want to do that. But if I find, you know, now that I have found myself a meaningful and like I feel like influential and important career in life, then yeah, I have no interest in doing this anymore, full time, long term, you know. So it's been a fun hobby and stuff, but yeah, I'll keep going for the next few months until I start. And yeah, good luck to like the people who do want to do this like full time and who are doing it full time. You know, I'm just curious to see like how it'll be like, you know, 5-10 years from now. Like, will it still be a thing? And well, I guess I think that's a lot to do with Konami, right? As long as they keep the game relevant, as long as they keep the game healthy and sought after, and people have an interest in it, and you know, they don't drive their content creators down into the dirt, and they don't treat their fan base as nothing but cows to milk for money, this game could have a lot of potential long term. But there's a lot of risk involved with trying to keep Yu-Gi-Oh relevant in the long term. On the plus side, you know, Yu-Gi-Oh's on the up. I think there's more players than ever. I believe. I'm not sure. I don't know. So yeah, maybe it'll be, you know, a real big thing a few years from now, like really big. I guess the future of like this kind of profession would be something like esports, right? So hopefully, maybe you'll see a YouTuber doing some esports commentary one day, and that'll be their profession, eh? Who knows? Who knows? So that's been my observations and what I've learned about Yugitubing. Don't really have anything else to say. If you've watched this far, or listened this far rather, God help you, I don't know why. I guess I have a card here next to me. Hashtag restrict in the comments if you've listened this far. Hashtag restrict. Again, I didn't have any. There was no purpose to this video really. I'm just kind of like speaking. So yeah, thanks everyone, and I guess I'll see you next time.